Sacred Symbols, a PlayStation podcast, is brought to you by, well, you. If you want to learn how to support our show, go to patreon.com/laststandmedia.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Sacred Symbols Plus, your weekly podcast supplement from Last Stand Media. I'm Dustin, and here with me, our producer, our boy, Ben Smith. What's up, dude?
Greetings. How's it going? Merry Christmas. Actually, I think this is going to go live after Christmas, so how long is it appropriate to say Happy New Year?
I feel like at least a week,
Okay,
seems appropriate. But some people, they kind of stretch it out into January. I'm not down with that.
I no joke had a guy who I hadn't seen, this was in college, who I hadn't seen since the beginning of the year. In February, like the beginning of February, he wished me a Happy New Year and a happy birthday because my birthday is in the beginning of February. And I was like, absolutely not.
No,
this is not okay with me.
You've missed your chance.
And you're too early for the
my
birthday.
year well.
Yeah. Give me a break.
We're here for a call-in, the first ever of its kind, in that we loosely framed this as a Ask the Producers type episode, and I put in the announcement you could ask us behind-the-scenes questions, you could ask us about games. Really, we don't care.
Yeah.
Just don't ask us about The Last of Us or Activision Blizzard or Game Pass. I'm cool with that, though I didn't put that in the announcement, so
yeah,
who knows, maybe someone's getting banned today without even knowing.
No, we had a producer chat one time. You and I, we got together in your office and did one, but it wasn't a call-in. And I think this is the first, I just unplugged my headphones. This is the first call-in or Q&A or anything that I've been a part of. So hopefully it goes well and people actually respond. And I'm hoping I can hear you after I plug my headphones back. There we go. Okay, we're good.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. Usually I've done these, but technically I'm always like half a part of them. I don't know how much I'm supposed to talk, but
you're like half a man. So
I'm half a man during the call-in and maybe outside of it as well. But let's not delay any further. And Ben, I want to give you the first choice on who you want to bring in.
Let's do Bass Blaster, just because that's the first name in the queue and also the first name that sounded interesting.
Bass. I'm going to have to call him Ass Blaster. All right, here he goes.
Yeah.
Mr. Bass Blaster, welcome to the call-in with Dustin and Ben. How are you?
I'm doing great. How about you guys?
Doing all right, man. You're coming in nice and clear. What do you got for us today?
Great. So I'm actually originally from the Erie area.
Nice.
So I go back, every year to see family. So I just want to know what was each of your favorite things about Western Pennsylvania.
Ben, you're not actually technically originally from this area. How long have you been in Western PA, though, Ben?
I've been in Western PA across 3 different counties since 1997. So I was like 9 or close to 10 when I moved here. So I'm, as much as I hate to admit it, I'm more from here than anywhere else.
Sure.
Realistically. Sure. I don't know, man. I mean, I think my favorite part about Western PA is that it's so easy to get away from it. Like you can go anywhere else pretty easily. No, I don't know. I'm not a big cold weather fan. I hate seasonal depression, which is a thing here. I don't know. It's hard for me. I'm not sure why I live here, honestly.
Yeah. For me, I feel like I wouldn't say this is unique to this area. I've only really lived in this area, but this is what I like about it. We live about an hour outside of Pittsburgh. You want to go to a cool concert or go to a cool event, you're just an hour away. You can just drive in. But then we can live out here and live in a small town where your money goes a lot further.
It's true.
It's overall very safe to live here. And it's ironic because just people around us don't feel like it's a safe community, but they've also never been anywhere else. I feel like for the most part, I can walk comfortably anywhere, any time of day in this town, and I'm probably going to be fine. There's no worries about that. So I don't know. I guess I've always lived in a small town, but I've spent time in bigger cities, and I would never, there was a time that I thought that maybe I wanted to do that, but it's just the benefits purely outweigh the cons. So you said are you currently from the Erie area, or are you? I'm trying to remember what you said a second ago.
No, that's where I was born and lived there for like the first 10 years of my life, and then still have a lot of family that lives there, so visit,
Nice. Ben and
yearly.
we were in Erie. How long ago was that? Like a year and a half ago, maybe?
I've been up it's hard for me to remember which time was which because I've been up a couple times in the last couple of years or so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a great arcade that we went to because we had like a nice little boys trip where we just went up, rented an Airbnb, and hung out. And there's a nice arcade that we went to there that had a really nice mix of like old and modern stuff that was all on free play. I wish I could remember what it's called though, but I'm sure Erie locals will remember. But Erie's nice. It's like a nice. It's a place that a lot of people around here go for like vacation. Like if you want to go away maybe with the kids, but you don't want to go too far, Erie is perfect.
Now, Bass Blaster, I can't do this while you're in the call, but I really want to change your nickname in Discord to Ass Blaster. Would you be okay with that?
No.
Okay, fine.
It's bad.
Just say you can change it back if you want.
Matter of fact. No. This man does not blast ass.
Well, I just want you to know
I
could do it. I could do it regardless of your permission, but because you said no so firmly, and I respect that. Like I have a very like yes and no demeanor. Like it's just the way it is or it isn't. I respect it, so I'm not going to change your name.
Thank you.
So,
welcome,
Mr. Blaster, where are you at now? What's going on in your life?
Yeah, I'm in Colorado Springs right now.
Okay, nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Very cool.
Very cool, man.
Yeah.
Well,
We've taken the drive several times to Western Pennsylvania.
That's a long drive.
Damn, dude.
Yeah.
Long drive.
Are you going there for Christmas? What's the plan?
No, I'll be there I think next May. My aunt's getting married.
Okay.
So I'll be up there.
Very nice.
In a few months.
Cool.
Very cool. Well, we look forward to seeing you in Pennsylvania. Ben and I probably won't see you. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe your family's happy. Maybe not. I may have just lied. But either way, thanks for calling in, dude. We appreciate it. Always nice to hear from a local, a native, PA.
Yeah. Yeah, you guys have a good one.
All right. See you, dude.
Bye.
Damn.
The natives are getting restless.
Erie is... I feel like Erie's a place I don't take advantage of enough of I don't go there very often.
Yeah.
I used to go there for shows and concerts all the time when I was in high school, but lately haven't really gone there very much.
It's funny because the places that are close to you, I feel like you take advantage of less than people from away. Like when I think of like, okay, I don't like the beach, but let's pretend like I like the beach. When I was in Florida, like when you live in Florida, you never go to the beach because you live in Florida. Like I shouldn't say never, but like you can tell the people who live there because they're all pale and the people who aren't from there are all sunburned. But like I know people who have moved away from beach areas and been like, I want to go to the beach, but I never went there when I lived there. So I feel like you don't take advantage of the places that are close to you a lot of times.
Yeah, definitely. I guess since COVID, I feel like I haven't been to Pittsburgh all that much.
Yeah.
But since this episode's coming out in January, Pittsburgh area,
yeah, Pittsburgh.
I'm taking my dad. I told you about this, man. I'm taking my dad on a Pittsburgh brewery tour.
Yeah.
Which here's the weird thing. It was kind of an expensive tour, but it's inclusive. It includes all your drinks. It includes like a nice appetizer or something like that.
They haul you around on a
around.
bus or something? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, they have like a nice big van or whatever.
Yeah.
But they don't tell you what breweries you go to. Because I think it just rotates. It changes. They have like a giant selection and just whatever the tour is doing.
Well, they probably have more than one tour a day too, like going at the same time. So
true.
They probably just like, they're not going to all go to the same place.
Right.
Same places.
Right.
Yeah.
Either way, though, I think it'll be, I mean, by the time you're listening to this, it's already happened. Maybe I'm dead. Maybe I'm dead from the tour. Maybe I don't know. Any number of things could have happened.
Yeah.
Let's get another caller in here.
Okay.
Who do I want to bring in here? This gentleman, I believe I had an interaction with him on Discord recently. I think it was positive.
Okay.
But his name looks familiar. So we'll go ahead and bring him in here. All right. Welcome to Sacred Symbols Plus, the gaming shelf. Sounds like you're in a car. What's going on?
Oh, let me switch my speaker. I think I have you on the wrong.
Okay. A little technical.
It's all right.
Mishap. It's all good.
There we go. Is that better?
You sound
No, but
great, man.
You sound great either way.
You're here
Cool.
with
Yeah, I have a
Dustin and
decent
Ben.
microphone, so hopefully this sounds better than like iPhone earbuds.
Yeah, you're good.
You're good. So what do you got for us today, man?
Yeah, so like you guys, I do a lot of like podcast editing, video production work, and so I was curious when you guys have to do cut-ins, like you did last week for the Game Awards. How do you guys edit that quickly, or how do you splice that in? Because I know you guys record Thursdays, episode goes up on Fridays. Is it a matter of just staying up super late, or do you have any like editing tips and tricks? I'm just kind of curious how you do those cut-ins so quickly.
How about I'll explain what the process was for Game Awards, and then we'll throw it over to Ben for some tips and tricks, because I know that he's got some crazy weird shit going on with a foot pedal or foot job or something. I don't know. So for the Game Awards, basically what we did was, and I think this was explained lightly during the show, is that we record the entire show beforehand, except for the Game Awards cut in. And the plan actually earlier in the day was to try to release that episode as early as possible that night. But then the Game Awards ended up going way later than we expected.
Like an hour later, wasn't it?
What's that?
It was like an hour later than they said, I think. Yeah.
So it went later than we expected. And then our pickup was much longer than we expected as well. So it was like, 1 a.m. or something when we were done. So in that case, it was just, at least from the video side, and also because Ben had to put together the audio, it was just a matter of like, okay, well, I got to put it in and then render everything. And once the render is done and it's good, you can set it to upload on YouTube and you're set to go. And then I at that point I was tapped out, and any kind of publishing work was done the following day. But Ben also had to splice in the audio stuff. So yeah, it was a matter of mainly just staying up, and that happens sometimes. It's just kind of the price of doing business in this world,
Perils
I guess.
of the job, yeah.
Yeah, perils of the job. But Ben, I know for you've got some tricks and stuff, and I'll just go ahead and throw it over to you now.
Yeah, I don't know if I have anything like industry revolutionary kind of thing, because there's obviously people who have been editing for 30, 50 years, whatever. The one thing I will say about that show and those types of things is I went ahead and edited the whole show before the pickup was recorded. So I was actually watching the Game Awards, and anytime there was something that I didn't care about or there was a commercial or something, I would go back to editing real quick. But the one thing, because we do timestamps for all our shows, I do those for the audio, and then I give them to Dustin so he can put them in on the videos as well. Was in Premiere, there's a way you can actually mark a spot on a specific thing. So even if you move the audio file, the mark still stays there. So that enabled me to be able to go and quickly then, after I added in that extra piece, go and find those timestamps without having to go through and do them painstakingly. But as far as Dustin keeps mentioning the foot pedal, I was editing it with just a mouse and keyboard for a long time. And earlier this year, I think it was, I got a foot pedal. I actually got the Elgato foot pedal just because I do streaming and everything too, but it was worth the extra money to me than just a regular foot pedal. But with the foot pedal, I then have an additional 3 controls at my feet. I only have 2 feet, unfortunately. But I have an extra 3 controls at my feet, plus the controls I already had on the mouse, plus my other hand for the keyboard. So that has made things a lot faster. And I would say, if you're someone, the downside to that is I have a standing desk, and I have to sit when I edit if I use that foot pedal. So that's a downside, but it's fine for me. I mean, it works. I'm okay with that. And that has sped me up so fast. I mean, I still spend probably 1.5 times however long the episode is editing, if not longer. But yeah, that's made it faster for sure.
So what do you, for the foot pedals, like, is it hotkey to something? I'm trying to imagine just like the logistics of what you're doing with the pedals.
Yeah. So before, I had on my mouse, let's say, I had like cut mapped to one of my thumb buttons. I had ripple delete mapped to another thumb button. I had, select map, whatever. So instead, I just hotkeyed those to the foot pedal, and it's all in the software. I'm sure if you had something that wasn't, I know a lot of the non like smart foot pedals have hotkey assignments as well. So yeah, I just, whatever the command is in Premiere, I just map that to the foot pedal, and my foot pedal specifically recognizes what program you're using. and will change your profile based on that. So like I can use it for streaming, and in Discord, it mutes me or push to talk or whatever, and it also does other stuff. And then for editing, I can make it so that it's just attached to the hotkeys that I would use for editing normally. I think most editors take good advantage of the hotkeys, so you can just map it to anything you want.
Well, that's really cool. I never even heard of a foot pedal for editing. I thought Dustin was being sarcastic when you said that. Yeah, because I definitely.
He was when he said about the foot job thing. I don't talk about that.
Well, I don't know about that. Yeah, I was gonna say, who knows?
Cool. Well, thanks for sharing that. That's really interesting, and appreciate taking the call. And real quick before I head out, Dustin, gotta say you should have taken the bet. I would have lost the bet. I don't know if you remember that bet I threw out in the sales saga. I would have had to put my real face on there. Now you're just stuck with this anime avatar.
Yeah, before you came in, I was saying I recognize this name. I know I interacted with this person on Discord, but I can't remember if it was positive or negative. And somewhere in between, you got your math wrong. Very embarrassing in front of everybody. And then you try to make a bet with me. Now, you are lucky that I declined the bet. But I don't know. You might want to think twice before testing your luck again.
I was feeling a little too ambitious there, I gotta say. Yeah, I guess I definitely did the math wrong, but you beat. I think you came out on top at least, if I remember right. But you're on top of the whole leaderboard, so
for now
you're the winner at the end of the day.
See. Yeah.
I have one more question for you. Your name in Discord is the Gaming Shelf. Can you confirm or deny that you are an actual shelf?
That would be impressive if I was, but unfortunately, I'm not a real shelf. I mean, you could place things on me, but day in, day out, not a real shelf. Right. Sorry to disappoint.
No, I'm not disappointed. I don't have any, I don't want to do any kind of bigotry here against shelves or anything, so that's fine. Nice talking to you, man.
Cool, yeah. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Have a good one.
What a nice guy. Swell guy.
Pleasant individual.
Ben, you got me thinking about this foot pedal business.
Yeah.
It is an interest. I feel like if I wanted it for just editing, it wouldn't be useful.
Yeah.
But with so much, Call of Duty going on and other game stuff, I'm like, man, that actually a little push to talk or something on your foot. I mean,
I'm trying to remember how much the pedal actually is, but I think I only paid $80 for it. And if you figure it saves you, I don't know, let's just make up a fake number. 20 minutes a day, 6 days a week. Well, that's pretty worth it, when you think about what your time's worth. So I'm sure it's saving more than that.
The Elgato foot pedal, $90.
Yeah.
$90. 3 macro foot switches. Okay. Very interesting. I have to keep an eye on that.
Elgato
see.
Doesn't sponsor me, but I do own almost all of their products.
Yeah. I've had good luck with them except for their internal capture card.
I don't have one of those.
Did not work on my computer, but everything else has been great. Ben, you are up on who you want to decide to bring in to the call.
Well, back in the MySpace days, for a while, I changed my my title or my name to Fozzie Bear, and we have an individual in the chat or in the waiting room named Fozzie Bear. So I think that's who we bring up next.
Okay, Fozzie Bear has been on a call-in, but you blind selected him, so
yeah. Oh, okay.
Fozzie Bear, he's back. All right, Fozzie Bear, welcome back to Sacred Symbols Plus. You were selected by Ben, so you're a very special boy or girl. I don't know. You haven't spoken yet. I don't think you. But welcome to Sacred Symbols Plus. How are you?
Thank you. I'm doing well today. I got my global entry for international travel, so I'm having a good day. How are you guys doing?
Good.
Not too
doing
bad.
Well. Where are you headed?
Hopefully, Belgium and Amsterdam next year.
Oh, nice.
It depends on how things go, but fingers crossed.
You can see Lockmart in Belgium?
I was going to say, there's a really shitty guy that lives in Belgium that we know.
Yeah, he always makes you guys look very unpleasant.
Yes.
That is true.
What's on your mind, man?
Yeah, so I wanted to ask about your thoughts on growing the company, the channel. Colin's gone on record before talking about how there's this pressure in general in society for constant growth, whether that's subscriber numbers, views on your videos, podcast listeners, and the amount of listens, and then growing into studio and all that if you're a smaller operation. But in my opinion, I think it's awesome and preferred if you have a small, tight operation and you have a dedicated group of fans who might not be in the 100,000s or the millions, maybe just a couple thousand here and there. So I wanted to get your thoughts from both of your perspectives, more on the technical or from the producer and editing side, and how you guys run the channel and everything.
Yeah, this is an interesting one just in that you're right. We definitely, at least I prefer that we're a small team that makes I guess compared to some of our competitors, makes a small amount, a very focused amount of content. I feel like it works well for us, but it's through careful selection of who we decide to work with. Colin always refers to us as the well-oiled machine, and that is essential. And that's one of the things that I think makes Ben and I work so well together, is that we can rely on each other to do the things that we need to do. And if something isn't done or we need something, then we can reach out to one another and things can get done very quickly, which from a producer/production standpoint is absolutely essential, especially in our biz where we are turning around podcasts that are very long in a very short amount of time. Mm-hmm. So as far as growth,
just to expand on that real quick, Dustin, it's nice, specifically with you and I mean, we've worked together in the past before LSM too, but it's nice because like we both just know what we're supposed to do and we do it. And like, I think you and I talk pretty much every day, but probably only half of those days are actually about something work related. Like we just talk, but it's nice because like we have each other to rely on. We don't have some random unknown. Not that random unknowns can't be good, but we know that we're going to do our work. And yeah, it's nice not to get people in that are just random off the street kind of people.
Right. Yeah. And that's the thing, is that we get offers and people messaging us, asking us for if they can help like multiple times a week. And I think it is the double-edged sword of the small team, is that you do have complete control and that intimate level of, accessibility with the content, whatever. But there is much more pressure on the individual, for sure, for all of us to make sure that everything gets done correctly. So as far as growth, this is kind of a more interesting aspect in that this is an area that I think all of us have very different opinions about. And so it's probably good in that most people's individual ideas do not get through, and only a few usually do. And that's good, hopefully, and especially as we move into this year. Now, people will be listening to this on early January, but as we move into this year, just hopefully our best ideas are only the ones that have come through. It's difficult because I feel like we have an approach that's like almost like a restaurant that has a very small menu. Like Chipotle only sells like 4 items or something like that, or you think of like In-N-Out. And we make those 4 items very, very well, and we make them consistently. And honestly, that and alone is a surprisingly, I feel like, a good way to grow, is that it's a reliable, it's reliable. People know what they're getting, and people will consistently return for it. But I think there is also an aspect that as time goes on, our audience remains with us, but there's new people coming in, right? And so, a normal company would be like, well, let's make a TikTok and appeal to the youths, right? It's like, no, we just need to figure out more ways that we can reach. How do we get new people that are getting into the hobby and the industry like we are and have been? How do we get them aware about sacred symbols or interested in something like that? And so that's like, we've done clips early this year, and that's been an experiment for us. And we have ideas all the time. I've rambled for a while. Ben, do you have anything to add on that as far as?
I mean, growth? I offer suggestions and my thoughts and stuff when prompted, but I think, like Dustin said, we all have a lot of different ideas. I am a little more worried for the long term about our audience, not the audience we have now, everybody's great, but just that like people get in and out of gaming. There was probably a 5-year stretch where I just very casually played games. And so for me, I'm worried that as our audience grows older, gets married, has kids, gets new jobs, whatever, that we just lose some of those people by natural attrition, not because we've done anything wrong necessarily, hopefully at least, but because just people's spots in lives change and their income changes and their priorities change. And so trying to figure out how to get in a new audience without stooping to those things like Dustin mentioned. Now, I mean, I think TikTok is a great tool, but I don't think we should use it because that just goes against our principles as a company. But as far as other things like that, so I guess what I'm saying is like, I want to focus on growth, but I'm unsure how to do that in our current environment. And I think that what Dustin said about us providing consistency and us continuing to provide the same things is a great retention tool. And the Discord has been a good retention tool. Continuing to put out good content is a good retention tool. Like all those things are good. I would like to work a little more on the growth aspect. But it's not an easy thing to figure out how to do it when you have multiple different heads thinking about it and not always aligned. And that's not to say we like get in fights and disagree or something. It's just like, hey, what about this? No. Okay. And then the other person's, what about this? Then we're like, no. So, it's hard to figure that out. And at the same time, know we need to, but have the comfortability of not needing to yet. So I don't know. That's probably not a good answer to your question, but that's just a little, I guess, a peek inside our brains.
No, totally. I mean, that makes a lot of sense to me. I mean, I think you guys are doing a great job. The new additions like the Secret Sales Saga and working with the community to get a tool for that so that the community can come up with their own guesses and participate. Yeah. That kind of stuff I don't really see. I mean, I don't really follow them in the YouTube channels, but I don't really see that often. So I think, and like you said, the Discord and being able to connect with other members of the community and actually make friendships and see you guys and Colin and everyone else talk and give their input and post memes. I think that's really special. So I think as long as you guys keep doing that, I can see, I mean, who am I to say, but I think that will really help you guys in the long term.
Much appreciated. Yeah.
Yeah, dude. It's, we take a lot of pride in the amount of community interaction we have. And so I think that you're right in that doing stuff like that, getting the community involved on an even deeper level. I feel like that's just what we continue to do. It's just add ways for the community to be involved is always an awesome aspect. So
absolutely.
Cool. Well, thank you, Fozzie Bear, for joining us. We appreciate you.
Yeah, of course. I got my flight booked and my hotel booked for Houston. So I'm really excited to see you guys in a couple months.
We'll see you.
That's going to be fun.
Yeah.
We're very excited. So not too far. No. So
definitely 2 months. All right,
dude.
cool.
All right, man.
Take care of yourselves.
Thanks.
Have a good one. See ya.
Yep. Bye.
All right. Another nice young lad joining us on the show.
Yeah.
Yeah. Growth is always, it's always a tricky one. You don't want to change stuff too crazy, but you also don't want to be locked out of fear of doing anything new.
Right.
So you kind of got to strike that balance. And, now that it's January, people will see, I don't know. I don't even want to say them out loud, even though they are known now, but there's some new stuff. So hopefully you guys are enjoying it. But
and I think that's, I think that's a good way of thinking about it. What he said about like with Sacred Sales Saga and stuff like that, is that you can grow without necessarily having to do brand new things. Like, Sacred Sales Saga, Sacred League, they're both parts of what we already do, but they're a different type of content still, even though they're within a wheelhouse that we already have. So I think that's good. Those kind of things are good.
Definitely. So I'm up next and I'm looking at these names and I think that everyone here has been on a call-in, or I think maybe I'm trying to
I just edit. I don't usually actually pay attention to who they are. So
yeah. This person joins in every call-in, has been selected in one of the early ones, and has been trying over and over again. I have no idea what will happen here, but Johnny Waffles, welcome to Sacred Symbols Plus. You're on with Dustin and Ben, and you're muted right now.
Wow.
So make sure you unmute yourself And don't embarrass yourself by
Oh
not
my-
saying anything, because I will leave it in the
I-
episode, Waffles.
I will roast him to death for sure. Like in
Oh.
person.
Is he here?
Hello.
Hi.
Mr. Waffles, hello, how are you?
Ben, Dustin, the men of the hour, too sweet to be sour. What's going on, gentlemen?
Dan.
Could you hear us roasting you a little bit, like slightly before you unmuted there?
I could slightly hear that. And you know what?
Okay.
If it had been if I had been muted,
Mhm.
that would have been incredibly embarrassing.
Yeah.
But the next time I might just leave it muted just
Yeah.
to see how badly you guys roast me.
For the memes, yeah. Yeah, I get
Sure.
it.
Exactly.
What's going
Well,
on, dude?
Yeah, what do you got for us?
Just hanging and banging. Hey, are we doing the questions and stuff right now?
Yeah, why else are you here, Waffles?
Well, I thought we were just hanging out like
okay.
like old buddies. All right. So my question, gentlemen, I'm not sure if I've ever made this clear in our Discord channel, but I am the speedrun record holder of Guacamelee Super Turbo Championship Edition on
Yeah,
PlayStation 4.
I don't think you ever mentioned that at all.
Guacamelee 2, hey, I'm not done, by the way. Guacamelee 2 on PlayStation 4 and Guacamelee 2 on Xbox. So my question for you both is, if you were to be given a task to speed run and obtain the record for any game, what game would you pick to do a speed run record attempt for?
Wow. See, okay, here's the thing for me is that I am confident that I am not good enough to hold any speedrun record.
Well, not with that
Though-
attitude.
I don't think it's something I could do, but there are games that I would like to attempt speedruns for,
Mhm.
knowing that I won't be able to get the record. Like back when Bloodborne came out, I was doing New Game Plus runs where I was going through the whole game in one sitting. Not insanely fast, but and to be clear, those were New Game Plus runs. So I had all the weapons, I was powered up, stuff like that. So it wasn't anything crazy. But I've always wondered if I could do a fresh run of Sekiro in one sitting. If that's something I would be able to do. I don't know. I'd have to get like good at the game again and then try and do it. But I'm trying to think if there's like some obscure game out there that I could maybe speedrun.
I've got a few obscure games that I could also speedrun.
Yeah, but here's the thing: even an obscure game, like of course the Dustin Furman classic Tomba or Tomba 2, surely there are people. I feel like even the obscure games, people probably hone in on those as well for speedruns, right?
Yeah, there's a speedrun audience for every game. Like for example, I can beat The Lion King on Sega Genesis in about half an hour. I think the record for that on what is it, Twin Galaxies is like 24 minutes. I don't know if that uses glitches or anything like that, but I'm really good at that game. Jurassic Park Rampage Edition. That's an obscure game. I can beat that in less than half an hour, about 25 minutes or so. I'm confident I have the speedrun record in that, because honestly, who is playing Jurassic Park Rampage Edition?
Right.
You know,
Mostly losers, I think. I think my
hey Ben,
sorry, Waffles.
could you do me a favor?
Yeah.
Could you try being nice for
No,
once?
not to you. You specifically. I don't. Okay, I'll be nice. I think my game. So back in probably the early 2000s, 2002, 2003, I tried to speedrun Duke Nukem 64. Duke Nukem. What was it called? Wow, it was Duke Nukem 64, but it wasn't Duke Nukem 64. It was the PC version, and Duke Nukem 3D. Sorry. And I got close. Like, when I say close, I mean close for me. Like, within a matter of 15 minutes or so. And I tried it a few times to see if I could get through it. And I was in high school, maybe even junior high. I didn't really know how the community worked. And the speedrun community certainly wasn't as large as it is now. But the funny thing is, I played that game. I've played that game since, but I played it again earlier this year. I actually streamed a little bit of it. And I forgot where everything was, like everything. And again, I was trying to go for like an actual playthrough rather than trying to speedrun it. But that is a game that I'm confident with a playthrough or two, I could be pretty quick about it, because I played that game so much as a kid, and I actually like would go in and build levels for it. So I know how like the terrain works and everything too. So that's probably a game. Other than that, I know you have an interest. I don't have a huge interest in speedruns. I don't care to watch them. I think they're really fascinating, and I think that the people who do them are very skilled, and it's really cool to see how people can do those things. But I'm like kind of bored by them. I'm like, I like games because there's something there, not to get through it as fast as possible. So
it's a very select group of games that I actually speedrun. I'm not a big speedrun guy, obviously, but it's like Guacamelee. Everybody knows. They call me Guac Daddy.
Do they?
The Discord? At least Poot does. So I, that's the game that really kind of I focus in on with speedrunning. There's a small group of Guacamelee speedrunners. I'm definitely one of them.
Well, I will say, when you first started talking about being before I really knew who you were or anything, I went and looked because I was like, this guy always talks about the Guacamelee speedrun. He's got to be just goofing around. And I went and looked, and I was like, oh, okay, he actually does have it. I thought you were. I think I'm lying. I thought you were trolling, really. Yeah.
Well, listen. That's not an unfair assumption to make when it comes to me, but I would never deceive Ben or Dustin or anybody about my Guacamelee speedrun records. So
I appreciate that. Yeah.
Waffles, I have a question for you before you go. And
you have a question for me?
Why isn't your bitch ass coming to Houston?
Well, listen, I've got a trip to Los Angeles planned a month later. I just got back from Disneyland. My funds are a little tight at the moment. So the reason I'm not coming to Houston is because Houston is not on the West Coast where I am currently residing. So do a West Coast show and I'll be there. What, Ben? What's that? I'm sorry.
You live in like Nevada. That's not the West Coast.
It's Nevada.
I know. I said it to trigger you, but you don't live on the West Coast.
Well, it's everything from Denver West is considered West Coast to the people from Denver West, for sure. Yeah. Once you get to the plains, then it's not really the West anymore, is it?
All right. Well,
okay.
enough.
So hey, listen, book a show in Denver or San Francisco or LA or Seattle or Vegas or any of those spots, and I'll be there.
Okay.
Okay.
Sure, we'll get to that.
Well, maybe
just
we'll
that wasn't sarcastic. I am sure we'll get to it eventually. I just don't know when.
Just stop having that green energy, Dustin, and make it happen.
Oh, calling out the greens on the Discord. Damn, dude.
So
well, Johnny,
I had to beat you to it.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for joining us.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me. Before I go, I have one thing to say. Tom Brady makes out with his son.
Mm-hmm. It's true.
Yep. Thank you, Johnny. Whoa, he muted himself. Okay, he's out. Damn.
He's out.
For those who don't know, Johnny at the first live event wore a shirt to the meet and greet that had a photo of Tom Brady's son kissing him on the lips.
Yeah.
On the shirt. It was like an iron-on shirt. It's like, dang, that's
for the event. So people would know who he was, I think. Yeah, so for anybody, we were giving Waffles a little bit of a hard time, and we'll give any of you a hard time if you want, but we do have a little more familiarity with him than most people. We wouldn't treat many people as badly as we treat Waffles. So
I think that everyone should get their bitch ass out to Houston, really.
Yeah.
Oh, I would say absolutely. That to anybody. How serious am I? I don't know.
No, I wasn't referring to that comment specifically.
Sure. Sure. Yeah. Ben, you're up. Okay. What do you want?
I'm recognizing a lot more of these names. I know Big Frankie was in my stream last night and told me he was going to call in. And I said, we'll see how it goes. But because he gave me a heads up and now he's actually here, I'm going to say pull him in. But I don't know what he's going to talk about. So hopefully it's not just about me.
If it's Sea of Thieves, he's getting yeeted right
kicked. Yeah, for sure.
All right, Big Frankie, you're muted right now, but you are here with us, Dustin and Ben on Sacred Symbols Plus. How are you?
I am doing great. How are you guys?
Doing all right. Now, you were selected by Ben. Special selection. Something about a paid tip on, maybe like a 10 gifted subs said, hey, get me in on Sacred Symbols Plus or something like that. I don't know. Sounds like some backdoor shady deals.
Oh, Jesus. I didn't know he was going to tell you. Shit.
Yeah.
I'm actually Ben's curse. Typically, I come into his chat and I actually curse his game. Yeah, it's bad. I show up and then Dustin, I haven't heard you talk much about Sea of Thieves. Are you like aware of that? Do you think about Sea of Thieves ever?
No, I don't play dead games. So
Fair enough.
No, I played a little bit of it, and it's good. I understand what people like about it. Obviously, it's bigly successful right now, and that's awesome. I think I feel like it's the underrated hit, or well, not underrated, because clearly a lot of people playing it, but underappreciated hit that Microsoft has that no one seems to acknowledge, which is funny. But
it's the live service game they have that's actually making the money right now.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate too, because it's probably their most successful game right now. Sad. Like it's with the way Halo's been and the way all the other IPs are, it's like Sea of Thieves is kind of like you said, it's the sleeper agent. It's maybe the main thing Microsoft has got right now.
Yeah.
But
did you have a question for us, Frankie, or did you just want to talk about the Kraken?
So, I mean, I only asked about Sea of Thieves because I was going to explain how I cursed you with the Kraken in Sea of Thieves.
Yeah.
But no, this is slightly Sea of Thieves related. Here's the question. So Ben knows Sea of Thieves is like, it's a great game, but it's got lots of bugs. People have lots of reasons to complain, and I think that's totally fair. But they did just launch this brand new like PvP focused season on November 22nd. And it's really good, but there were a lot of problems with it. And it's going to drop tomorrow. So within 3 weeks, Rare has like already responded and is doing this comprehensive update to the season. And I thought that was really cool, because even though the game is very imperfect and I understand why it's not for everybody, it seems like Rare has done an amazing job listening to the hardcore audience and getting engaged and getting updates out very quickly. And then also, even in their posts, explaining the intricacies of how their system works and explaining, hey, here's some other things we can't really fix now, but we're working on it. We're thinking about it. So all that is just to ask, are there any big or small developers that you guys like that you think are particularly transparent or really connected with the fan base? And then are there some really bad ones you can think of also? I was just curious.
I feel like my answer is the same for both of those. The really good and really bad. I feel like Bungie is really good and really bad because they're responsive in a way. And by the way, Sea of Thieves is the only game that I would put. I don't know why, but if any other game had that many bugs, especially like game-breaking bugs, I don't mean like you can't progress. I just mean like, I literally just couldn't do that action because like,
right.
I don't think there's any other game I would play that has that kind of problems with it, but for some reason I stay with it. But anyway, Bungie, I feel like they read the room pretty well. And when players ask for something, they tend to at least go a half step, if not a full step. But at the same time, there's things people have been asking for and saying needed changed in Destiny for a decade that they're just like, no, like we're not. Or it's not even that they're saying no, they're just not doing. And so I feel like my answer for who's really good and who's really bad would be Bungie, because as good as they are, they're also that bad at responding to community feedback and everything.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. For me, the bad one is fresh in my mind right now, and that's Infinity Ward with Call of Duty, specifically in that they just put out a big update today, which is good. So it addresses a lot of bugs and does a lot of balancing. But what's been interesting about Call of Duty is that there are, like, you'll have a description of an item that says it does something, and then people go and test it and it doesn't do it. Or there's certain, different balancing things the game says it does and it doesn't. And the problem is, from my understanding, they just don't, their primary way of interacting with the audience is when they put out updates like that. Sometimes they'll acknowledge if a major bug is happening, but other stuff, they just kind of leave people in the dark. And so that can be very annoying. So right now, Infinity Ward's a little bit on my shit list, but as far as a positive one, this is another one that's fresh, and I actually don't know a lot about this, but I found this really interesting, is that Supergiant with Hades 2 is kickstarting the game again. And clearly they don't need that money. So why would they do this? And I think that it sounds like it's a way that they can get the audience or the players in on creating the game through early access, because they're doing early access again. Wait, are they kickstarting or are they just doing early access?
I think early access, but I don't know about Kickstarter. I don't know.
Okay, maybe not Kickstarter. I think I misspoke. So they're just doing early access again. so they can build the game with the audience like they did the first game. Clearly that was a positive thing for both players and the developers. And that's interesting to me. It's not appealing to me because I have no interest in helping them create the game. I just want to play it when it's done. But I think it is cool that I'm sure getting that level of feedback can be very tough probably at times, and especially being able to filter through what's good and what's bad. But I think that is despite me not being interested, it is a neat thing for them to do.
For sure.
Yeah. I really like it's tough. I mean, early access, like there are some nightmare stories where people just give money and the game never comes out. And the whole thing is just a crappy money sink. They don't develop it well. They don't steward it well. But then other times, it's just a really cool way to utilize your fans as a developer tool, right? Which I think this is a thing I thought about Halo, which is like, dude, if I were a 343, I would have put Forge out like first thing because you can just farm everybody for Forge maps after that. I don't know why they didn't do that. And for Sea of Thieves, it's similar. They have like an insider program and they can like develop things and get feedback. So yeah, I hear you. It's definitely a cool way to get the fans engaged and a good resource when it works, right? And then that's ultimately up to the character of the developer. But
it's a double-edged sword for sure.
Yeah. Anyways, that's all I had for you guys. So appreciate your time and your answers.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for joining us, dude.
Yeah. Thank you much.
Cool. See you later.
Bye.
Yeah, it's the thing about, I don't know, early access games. There's a few that I've bought into. I think technically Vampire Survivors, but it was practically done.
Right.
And Phasmophobia, which clearly was not done.
Right. Is it done now?
I don't know, actually.
I think it might still be in,
Yeah. So I don't know. It's always a weird thing because I understand some people like that process, but to me, I'm like, I'm paying you to make the game. Like,
I think that's the minority of people though that.
Right. Yeah.
Well, no, I mean, sorry. The minority of people get early access and actually offer feedback. I think the majority of people, and this is a total guess on my part, probably pay for the early access so they can play the game. And they're not going to offer feedback or whatever. Their data inside the game may be helpful to the developers, sure.
Yeah.
But I don't think most people are contributing. But you have the whales, the people who are like contributing both playtime and feedback. That does help sometimes. So yeah, it's I remember like Baldur's Gate 3, they came out with early access for that. And they were like, hey, you can play. And that's a game you need to invest hours in. They were like, you can play all you want. We want you to provide feedback, but none of your progress will carry over. And for me, when I saw that, and I heard Maddie say this too, when I saw that, I was like, no, I'm not into that. Like, I don't want to play the game to have it go to nothing because that's a game that builds on itself. So yeah.
Absolutely. So I guess it's my choice.
Yep.
And a newcomer has joined the call-in waiting room. I've never seen this person before.
Okay.
Maybe they're trying to put a little bait out there because their name is Corey Dustin.
Oh.
So maybe this is something to get me to click them, but it's working because Corey Dustin, hello. I don't know what's going on with your name. Is it bait for me to click you? I don't know. It worked if it was, but Corey, welcome to the show.
Hi, how's it going?
Doing
Actually,
right.
It's my middle name. It's my middle name.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
so it wasn't
okay.
just bait.
Yeah, so just a coincidence there. Yeah, definitely.
Interesting. Well, welcome to the show. You're here, of course, with Dustin and Ben.
Yep.
What do you have for us today?
Pretty simple. Just kind of want to hear from y'all on how y'all kind of handle and manage burnout, or if you kind of have been experiencing that lately.
It's a good question. Ben, why don't you take this one? I feel like I always am talking first. Why don't you take this one first?
In some ways, there's burnout for me because, I'm literally doing the same thing every day. There's obviously different things, but I'm literally editing usually 5 or 6 days a week, depending on how our schedule works. And so there's burnout in the sense that I'm like getting tired of doing the same thing sometimes. But I'm trying to figure out how to say this without sounding arrogant, because that's not the intention. I am someone who has always had a high tolerance for work. And I don't mean that to be like other people don't. I mean that to be like, I usually have 2 or 3 jobs going. Ever since I think when I was 16, I started working multiple jobs, and I never stopped until this year. And actually, this year I still have multiple jobs. They're just not as intense as they used to be. So that will catch up with me at some point. And I like being busy and active and stuff like that. But when people talk about burnout, I have to actually remind myself that that's a real thing, because it's not something I relate to very well. And that's a weakness that I can't relate to that with other people. But I understand it. I think it's real. I just have not experienced it in the same way that I hear others talk about it. I think that's probably unhealthy. That has hurt me in other ways, as far as like friend time and family time and stuff like that, where I'm like always trying to be busy. And I think that's a little bit of a, I don't know, trying to be busy to like stop other things from actually happening, like, you know, doing stuff I don't want to do with my family or something like that, I guess. So I'm trying to be aware of it, but I don't know if I have a good answer for you other than to say I don't experience it in the same way that I know others do.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting in that Last Stand is a group of people that all work a lot, and we need to be intentional about trying to take time and stuff like that. For example, and I don't think this is bad for me to share this, but early last year we had planned on doing a mid-year break for just like a week where we did our content ahead of time and then took a week off during the summer. And it didn't happen. It just didn't happen. It wasn't anyone's specific fault. I just think that we were just kind of had a good flow, and it was supposed to be like after E3 time or something like that. And then it just like stuff kept happening. And so we just kept going. And I don't think anyone was disappointed or sad about that. It was just, well, it didn't work out. So luckily we are about to take 2 weeks off actually at the end of this week. And if you're listening to this when it comes out in January, we are just coming back from our 2-week time off. And so having time like that to recharge is good, but I don't know, we probably could do a better job to avoid burnout. I mean, right now the audience knows that some things are being restructured, particularly for Colin with Knockback, in order to avoid some burnout related stuff. But it is tough. This job is interesting, and the way I try to tell people about it is that sometimes I'm working from like the moment I get up until like 8 p.m. or something. And then other days I can just kind of like hop on for 5 minutes and not do really much at all. So, but I'm always doing a little bit of something. And so being able to fully break away at least once a year is important. And maybe next year we can shoot for a second time away. But I guess
think we try to get 2 months off next year.
Dude,
like not all at once, you know, spread.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think that'd go well. Yeah.
No, I don't think so.
No.
So the answer is we're probably not very good at it, but we'll keep going for now.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. Cool, dude. Well, thank you for calling in. We appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate y'all having me.
Cool, dude. Hey, you have a fantastic day. We'll talk to you later.
Thanks. Bye.
See you, dude. Yeah. What's funny is I actually do feel kind of burnt out right now. Like specifically right now, not like a long-term burnout, but right. I was thinking about it. I'm like, well, this is our most intense week where we're getting all the stuff ready. And then I realized like, man, I'm going to be on 5 shows in 4 days.
Yeah.
While doing that other stuff. So it makes sense. I'm feeling a little, not quite, I don't want to be like, oh, I don't want to do this, but I'm very much looking forward to it being over.
Yeah. I think it actually is funny. I'm not saying this is like a derogatory thing. I think it's funny that we crunch for 2 or 3 weeks in order to have 2 weeks off. Like, that's just funny to me. I don't know. Mm-hmm. It's just interesting. I mean, it is nice to just know that you have nothing to do those 2 weeks and not literally nothing, because we still have things to do, just not the same. But it's like, you know, the last 2 or 3 weeks have been some of the busiest all year for me. Mm-hmm. And why did we do it? In order to have 2 weeks off. Okay. I don't know. You know, sometimes you're like, is this worth it? But it is. It is.
Yeah. Oh yeah. All right, Ben, you are up with your
all
selection.
Right. I do not recognize this name. Hopefully I haven't interacted with them before. Ember Art House.
Okay. Ember Art House, hello. You're on Sacred Symbols Plus with Dustin and Ben. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing well. How are you guys doing?
You sound nice.
I sound nice.
You sound hot.
crispy. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know about hot, but you sound crispy clear.
Yeah.
I sound hot.
Yeah, like your mic is hot, dude. Not hot like it's too loud. It's just like, dang, this is
sound
the
good. How's that?
cleanest, crystal clear audio. Are you attractive? I don't know. I can't see you. I'm gonna pretend you are, though. How about that?
I'd like to think that I am. I mean, not to get into it. I actually work as in marketing. I do video content, and one of the things that I need to do is record audio all the time. So I'm glad to hear that my equipment is working.
Oh yeah,
that's awesome. Well, I had two questions that I thought I'd like to ask, and you guys can approach one or the other. I feel like one will be less interesting for you to talk about, but I've always been curious about this. One of the things that you guys do when you do these call-ins is you warn people that if they're going to be idiots when they get in the call, then you can edit them out, and you have the power to take away their ability to troll the segment. Have there ever been any notable stories that you'd be willing to divulge about any weird encounters you've had? I feel like the community is generally really great, and I wouldn't expect it to be a common occurrence, but have there ever been like just weird call-ins that you had to cut?
I'm trying to think just from the editing side. I don't think we've ever cut someone because of content, like they've come on and tried to say something, bad or just been rude. There might have been one or two we cut because either they cut out or their audio was so bad we couldn't understand them. But to answer your question, I don't think there's anything we've ever cut out just straight up because they were being trolls or something.
right. The funniest call-in we ever had, I think we left it in the show, and it was a guy who we were like, "Hey, you're on the show," and he's like, "Oh, cool. So what's going on?" We're like, yeah, I don't know. You tell us. He's like, "Well, I really didn't expect to get on the show," and we're like, "Well, sorry, you kind of blew it." So I think that might be in like the first or second call-in we did, which I don't know if that guy's still around. Maybe you're listening to us. Shout out, legendary moment.
Yeah,
but
I feel like I remember that. I have like a big memory of that from listening to an episode. Well, okay, that sates a curiosity because I've always felt like, oh man, I would love to know what those crazy cut calls are. Well, I do have a more like profound question if you guys have time. Yeah. We're coming into a new year, and it's a great time to reflect on the past. Obviously, Sacred Symbols has been doing fantastically for years, and it seems to be getting better and better. And there's a new show that I'm really looking forward to coming in January, and I'd love to see what you guys are going to bring us. With the growth of a organization like this and of a company, there are tons of new challenges ahead. Are there any particular challenges that you are preparing for or bracing for with the changes that are coming with the new year with the company?
I don't know about preparing or challenging for. I'll just jump in here, Dustin.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think the one challenge we have that I know that Colin is looking at and I'm thinking about, and I'm sure Dustin's thinking about, although Colin's usually he's the shot caller. Not shock caller, the shot caller. Is just that we know the economy is getting rougher and rougher right now, and it may be, a year or years. And so since we're primarily fan funded, we do have like ads and stuff like that, but mostly we're funded through Patreon. Just figuring out how to adjust and keep our Patreon attractive to people enough to stick with it, even if they have to cut expenses in the economy. That's definitely a challenge that we're very aware of. We haven't seen it impact us negatively as far as income yet, but I know that is something that as prices keep going up and as they stay up, leisure activities such as listening to podcasts are things that people will cut out before they'll cut out things like groceries, obviously.
Oh yeah, of course. I wonder though if there isn't like the pandemic kind of showed this, that there's a certain vertical of entertainment or leisure activities that people will invest in heavier when times get tough, as we saw with gaming kind of exploding. And I guess you could attribute that to people having more money in their pockets that they didn't have with things. Dustin, I know you're gonna jump in, but I just wanted to throw out real quick. I think you guys have the best value per dollar on Patreon that I've ever seen, and I've been on this site for a very long time, supporting a lot of different podcasts and content creators, and I am at the $10 level, and I cannot believe what you guys are offering for that kind of money. I feel like you guys could probably get more out of me, and I would still.
There's a $25 level if you really want. I mean,
you know what?
You're welcome.
True. Get my name read in the thing. Yeah.
We appreciate hearing that. And that is something that we are extremely intentional about, is that, well, first of all, just that I don't know, it is shocking to me, and I don't try to say this with a big head or anything, but I'm surprised that other Patreons don't copy what we do, in that you really want to pack the $5 tier as the value tier, which obviously the $1 tier is also an amazing value. You get all of our bonus episodes, which is, a shit ton of content, quite frankly. But
I can't keep up sometimes.
Yeah, the $5 tier is really where it's at. And it's weird to see other Patreons really focus on, I don't want to say they're whale focused, but there is a focus on trying to pull in whales that will spend $100, $300 a month on your content. And I can understand why people do that, but I also don't think it's effective in that we would rather hook in way more people at a fair amount. And part of that too is that people don't, or a lot of creators don't view Patreon as a exchange of goods or as a subscription service, which is, I think, is one of the biggest mistakes I see, is people kind of use Patreon as like an e-begging service. And I feel like it's obvious. It's like, you gotta, there's I'm trying to remember what book it's in. There's a book that's like, in order to attract a fisherman goes out, he doesn't put jam or toast and jam on the end of his line. He doesn't get anybody because they don't want that. It's like, you have to appeal to people with a compelling product in order for them to subscribe. They're not just going to do it. Some of them will do it out of the kindness of their hearts, which is great, but we're not really interested in doing that. We want to provide people with something that they actually want. And so, but to talk on what Ben was saying, is absolutely the economy is something that we're definitely thinking about as a just in case. All gaming Patreons are down right now slightly. And something that I think about a lot is that I see others in our space kind of ticking down more than just from an economic standpoint. And so I have an eye on many of these creators all the time. And it's not out of any kind of weirdness, just because I want to know, why aren't they doing as well? Because I want to make sure we don't do that. And so far it's been good. And we have seen a little bit of a dip, but nothing out of the ordinary for Patreon. But I don't know, some others out there, I'm like, man, hopefully you'll be able to stick around, because it seems dicey sometimes.
Mm-hmm. I'm really sorry if you're hearing weird squeaking in the background all of a sudden, because my dog just came by. Well, yeah, I mean, you guys are, I think, as long as you continue to offer a tangible value that people can see pretty clearly, I really don't think you're gonna have a hard time. I've seen podcasts that are bigger. One of my favorite podcasts is The Last Podcast on the Left, and it's like horror and comedy.
Yeah, we know
I think they used to be a really massive Patreon at some point, and I subscribed to them. And they one of their hosts was doing like Bible readings for their like Patreon extra content. I'm like, what is this? This is I don't want
for
this.
that show. That's weird.
It's weird. They were like reading. It was just early on in their Patreon, so I don't know if they've done it better. But like, yeah, I'm blown away that your business model hasn't become the model for the entire industry, because it seems to be working. So I can see you guys doing fantastically well. And I'm really looking forward to this new show. And I had a guess on the post. I thought it was going to be called All Stars. So I'll have to come back and see if I was right, because that logo seemed like it gave it away.
I'll give you a hint.
Maybe not.
You're wrong.
Damn it.
Oh.
I'm glad I'm not a betting man, but I was so confident. Well, thank you guys.
I can't
so
tell you
much.
more than that. Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for your time. I really appreciate it. You guys are doing great work, and I hope for a bigger and better 2023 for LSM.
Thanks, dude. We appreciate you for calling in. Yeah. Appreciate you for being on Patreon. And hey, have a good one, dude.
You too. Have a good one, guys. Take care.
See ya. Okay. Let's see. We're at an hour and 4 minutes. How are you feeling, Ben? What are you thinking?
I'm okay. I can go however you want.
Okay.
I'm very flexible, as they say.
Let's bring in this one here. The Lord's Chips Did you tell them they were the Lord's chips? Is this a Nacho Libre reference?
Is this a Nacho Libre reference?
He said, fuck no, baby. He's gone.
Bring him back one more time. We got to know about that. If he doesn't respond.
Hey, Lord's chips, don't try to hide from us.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, yes.
We can. It seemed like you ran away because you retreated to the call-in waiting room from our perspective.
Well, there's this, yeah, that's exactly what it did on accident. I just had this join voice button on my screen, and it kicked me back out.
Did you hear what we asked, though?
Yes, this is from Nacho Libre.
Yes. Fantastic movie.
Yes.
10 out of 10.
Yeah, I agree.
So what do you got for us today, Lord Cheeps?
So I recently watched a little video on AI, and I kind of wanted to get y'all's perspective from, I guess, like a content creator and the utilization of AI to help in creating your content. And if you think that is, in a way, like stealing someone else's work, because all the AI is really doing is looking at everything on the internet and generating a result from all of that input data.
Right. I think that's probably definitely true right now, that AIs are extremely reliant on outside content. But as they continue to learn and grow more, I don't know if there will be anything distinguishable from it. So I don't really know the answer to this question. This is something I've thought about, is that if the content is good, like if an AI writes a story and it's amazing, and let's say you did a blind reading and you didn't realize, does it make it not good if you found out that it was written by an AI? Doesn't make sense to me in some ways. But obviously there is something about the human experience that is important and something we want, that authenticity. And so I think that will always exist. But I do think that AI generated content is most likely going to be part of our future, whether we like it or not. Ben, do you agree?
Yeah, I think there's already some examples of it. And it's a little different because Epic actually, or at least they bought it if they didn't create it, but they actually bought or created the software, the AI, to do this. But in Fortnite, and probably other of their games too, and they probably make it available for Unreal, they have a music creator that is actually AI driven. And I was hearing one of the songs at one point and I realized it was AI, and I was like, oh, this is actually pretty good. So like, is it generating that based off of feedback from other creators? Probably, but also if they designed the AI to be able to do that, is it then a new creation? It's kind of like when you look at people like DJs. Are DJs creating art because they're mostly using other people's music, even though they're mixing it into something new? Is that art or is that theft? And I would say it's art, but I can understand the perspective of where it's theft. So yeah, I don't know the answer. I do agree with Dustin that we'll probably see that in the future. I think that's probably why. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know the answer. I'm going in circles at this point, but what do you think?
Yeah.
Well, I guess I kind of am on the same position. I guess really I was looking at trying to incorporate some of these tools myself. So like, for example, I don't know what y'all do, but do you use DALL-E to try and help you generate a thumbnail, or do you use Chat GPT to give like a starting off point for a script that you're going to use in one of your videos or something along those lines? And that's sort of what I've been thinking about implementing myself. But I was, again, curious, is that legitimate and okay? At this point, I think the answer is probably yes, and it's going to get fleshed out, as we learn more. But
again, all the same arguments come into play, but I think that because for instance, the thumbnail thing, if you're creating the prompt for the thumbnail, then, or the prompt for the story or whatever, then in some sense, you're still creating it, even though AI is actually forming it. It's yeah, I don't know. I don't really like AI because I saw iRobot one time, and I'm pretty sure that's how it's going to go. But no, I'm just kidding. I think it's really fascinating for sure. A lot of philosophical studies there.
Yeah, excellent. Well, I really appreciate it, and I was getting worried I wasn't going to get selected for a second there, but
you made it. I think we've got 2 more people. We're gonna hit them both and then call a day.
Awesome.
So you're one of the last few. But thank you for calling in, dude. We appreciate you.
Yep, y'all have a great one.
See you, dude. All right, so like I said, we've got 2 more people in here, and they've been waiting. So I say let's just do these last 2.
Let's try it.
If anyone else joins, though, sorry.
Yeah.
You're out. But we'll get these last 2, call it a day. Okay. Ivan, welcome to Sacred Symbols Plus. What do you got for us today?
Hello. This is more in the life advice category.
We're not very good at life, so.
Yeah, it's just I don't know, it's just weird. My big problem right now. 25, and it's like, and I don't know if it's normal that some people, they're 25, they get older and it's harder to make friends. It's just this weird thing where it's just like I have a really hard time making friends. And it also sucks because it's like there's not really a lot of opportunities to meet people. And every time there happens to be, it just does not work. Like, I don't go to college right now, so I'm not around people. Not working right now currently, and if I do end up working, I'm probably going to try something that's more remote. And it's just really the big problem is I'm not around people a lot. And when I am, it's just kind of just everyone's just strangers, that or it's family I'm around. And so it's like very frustrating. So I'm just curious if that's like a normal thing. I mean, that some people, they're just older and they just have trouble. I mean, or if there's like other ways you can meet people.
Yeah, I would say to answer your kind of question initially is it just a normal thing? I think it is somewhat normal that as you get older, you have, more responsibilities in life, but you also have less opportunities to meet new people. And I can't think of many new friends that I have. Very few.
I'm probably your newest friend.
Well,
one of your in the last 3.
I was
right?
gonna say, yeah, probably like of the people I regularly hang out with, I've probably known them for over 5 or 7 years. So I think that is normal. I don't think it's weird to be in your mid to late 20s or 30s and not have new people. But as far as where to meet people, I don't know your exact situation or area, or even if I did know where you were, I don't know all the things around you. But I think it's important that when you do have opportunity to meet people, your best foot has to go forward. If you start out a conversation, and I'm not saying you do this, I'm just giving an example. I knew someone like this that did this, so I'm using that. I knew someone that met someone in a position higher than them, and they asked them, "How are you doing?" And they started off the sentence or the conversation with, "Well, I'm single and unemployed, so I'm doing pretty great." And that instantly soured that interaction. So starting off with something negative makes the person having the interaction with you feel like it's going to be a negative interaction and then not want to interact. So I think starting off with just like a really good way that if you do have opportunity to meet someone to get to create a relationship with them is instead of talking about yourself, talk to them about their self and create that relationship and being interested in the other person rather than telling them about your worries or your troubles or anything like that. And again, I'm not saying that's something you do. I don't know your personal lifestyle or anything, but I think that's an important thing is to not create an initial negative. And those are things you talk about as you get to know people better and as you get to know them. And I also think it's totally okay if you're having those kinds of struggles and stuff, it's to talk to someone who's a professional. Because I'm, Dustin and I are going to give you our feedback, but we're just two guys who do content on the internet. We're not somebody who actually knows how to emotionally deal with these things with other people. So that's my feedback, is also talk to someone about it. Yeah.
I would say I referenced this book earlier in the call-in before you were here, but there's a really interesting book. It's kind of old, so the name feels a bit dated, I would say, because it kind of gives the wrong impression, but it's still a very popular book. It's called How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. And this book is really interesting. And like I said, the name feels weird because it sounds like you're trying to manipulate people into being your friends, but really it's kind of just a guide on how to interact with people, especially for people like me who can be somewhat socially awkward when it comes to meeting new people. And his 6 ways, I'll just read them real quick just to kind of cap it off on 6 ways to win friends and influence people is to 1, become genuinely interested in other people. 2, smile. 3, remember that a person's name is to that person the sweetest and most important sound in any language. Be a good listener. Talk in terms of other people's interests and make the other person feel important, and do it sincerely. So that's kind of something that as far as this book is, it's like having a genuine interest in people, putting other people before yourself, kind of, playing into those aspects can go a long way. So if you haven't heard of that book, I highly recommend it. It's helped me a lot in dealing with social awkwardness and anxiety. So I'd check that out.
Okay.
Cool, dude. Well, thank you for calling in.
Thanks, Ivan.
I guess he's out. Okay.
I don't know where he went.
I don't know where he went, but I guess we kind of concluded that point anyway.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think I just want to reiterate, I think that's a really good piece of advice that I've never taken myself, is to smile. No, I'm just kidding. I try to smile. I have a face, and you've talked about this before too. You and I both have faces that when we're just thinking or listening, we're not always terribly expressive. I know you've said before that when you're on Sacred Symbols, you have to be intentionally expressive.
I feel like I'm smiling right now.
I can't. The thing's blurry, I can't tell. There's been times when I've thought I was smiling or something, and I see a picture of myself, and I'm like, am I really not smiling? So I just I have to be extra intentional to be expressive, because I can say everything I need to say without moving my face, and it's not always helpful. So,
right.
Yeah,
that book is great though. How to Win Friends and Influence People. I hate the name. You tell people the name and you're like, you sound like a manipulative asshole. And it's like, no.
I guess I never got that impression, but that's where I got the thing about talking to other people about themselves rather than yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. We got one more caller. This is the first time that we've cleared everybody in the call-in waiting room. So this is pretty exciting. Let's bring him in. Riley Delete. Hello. Welcome to Sacred Symbols Plus. You are the last caller.
Ever.
How are you?
Good morning.
Good morning. Hello.
I'm doing all right. I'm easing into my day. Gonna have a chat with 2 cool folks, and then I'll probably go on a walk.
Nice. That sounds great. What do you got for us today?
So I know that you and Ben both work in production behind the scenes, and that is kind of the topic of today's show. For some family background, my mom worked in media, still works in media for many years, and worked on analog back in the days. So we're talking VHS editing, things like that. It's a lot of work. I work currently in education. My school is steadily rolling out iPads to students, things like that. And so as more and more young people get acclimated or used to video production and editing, I was just curious what you and Ben thought about editing becoming a more and more common skill that more and more people are developing.
My initial reaction is I don't want anyone else to learn it so that my job's worth more. But that's not a serious answer, actually.
Editing? Oh, go ahead, Ben.
No, I don't have an answer.
I was going to say editing. What's interesting is that, so I came in at the early, maybe not the earliest generation, but right at the advent of where video and editing was getting really easy. There was an okay program called Windows Movie Maker on your computer, and there was the advent of the flip video, which was like the phone camera before the phone. And this was amazing to me at the time because I was interested in getting into video stuff, and the barrier to entry was it was just lowered. And so this was fantastic. And you're right that more and more people are learning how to edit. More and more people want to be content creators. And honestly, I kind of see editing like I do writing. I think that it maybe not quite as ubiquitous as writing, but a lot of people will know how to edit video and make stuff. But just because anyone can edit, it doesn't mean you have truly honed the craft, particularly with editing. And obviously there's different types of editing. Like for Sacred Symbols, the editing is very, you kind of plug some things in, polish a few things up, and then you let it go, right? But if you're talking about editing something comedic, like Lockmort, nobody can go in and make a Lockmort video quite like he does. It's a very particular skill of not only trimming stuff out, but comedic timing. That's something that you can't just learn overnight. Anyone can learn to edit something small, but to learn something like that is a skill that needs to be honed and crafted. Just like, a comedian writing a joke or someone writing a book, is that those things take time. And so I am glad to see more and more people interested in this hobby, because it means that there are more tools available to people. There's more content out there, which is great. But it's still, I'm not concerned yet, just because it also goes beyond editing too, which I could ramble about this forever, but the best editors are also the best troubleshooters or the best producers, people that can solve a computer hard drive problem very quickly, or solve a problem with a battery or whatever. Like there's a lot of other essential skills that go into doing this type of job. So I just rambled a lot. So Ben, do you have anything you want to add here?
Well, you talked about, we entered a phase where editing was easier, and the first video I ever made, and I'm trying to remember what all I used to do it other than a clunky camcorder, was in I think 1998 or something. So in the scheme of video, not that long ago, but in the scheme of modern technology, it was forever ago. And I remember it being really tough. And then I remember some tools got introduced, like you said, Windows Movie Maker, and things progressed through that point, and things made it all easier. But now I feel like a lot of the tools coming out, especially, you mentioned iPads. I don't know if you were referring to editing on iPads. Anytime I try to use them, and this may just be because I'm a dinosaur now, but anytime I try to use those, I'm like, this is so much harder than just doing it on Premiere or doing it on my computer or something like that. And so I wonder if as we progress, we also regress in those skills. And so I think it's good for more people to learn how to do it. And obviously not everybody has a computer and wants to pay for Premiere and stuff like that. But I think that while we can continue to improve the tools of old and iterate on them, there's also a very good reliance on, even as badly as Premiere performs sometimes and messes up, I still think that as we try to make editing easier, it actually becomes harder to do it well. Because like I said, I've had people recommend oh, you should just put it all in this. There's this app for iPad and it makes it super easy and it basically does it for you. And I've tried to use it and I'm like, not only was this more work than it was worth, it sounds worse. And so I think that I think it's good for people to learn the trade, the skill, whatever you want to call it. But I don't think you can learn it and also say, I want it to be as easy as possible. Because it is easy in the sense that anybody can learn to do it. It's not easy in the sense of everybody's going to do it at the same level, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
I appreciate both of your perspectives because you come at it from a very, very different but yet interconnected points of view. Particularly, I like what you said, Dustin, because as someone who has teach writing skills and has taught basic, not necessarily content presentation, but thinking, problem solving, and then kind of presenting your own voice, not only do you need to communicate with your own editing style, I mean, you can compare something you guys do to something like Red Letter Media, but you also need to make sure you find a suite that works for you, that is also accessible and presents high quality, which Ben talked about. So honestly, I don't want to ramble on, but I really appreciate your multifaceted insight into the perspective, both of you, because you came at it from a very distinct point of view, yet at the same time, you gave a lot more context to the broader ongoing situation of editing accessibility. Thank you both for your time.
Dude, thank you for calling in. I love talking shop about editing. So it's a great question. So
you guys have a wonderful holiday season.
Hey, man, you too. Thanks. See ya. All right. There we go. Our call-in complete. Glad we got to talk about some editing stuff.
Yeah.
Editing, you know, we actually our biggest problem, I was gonna say we've been using Premiere and not having a problem. Our biggest problem has been these recording softwares, though I think we have some issues sorted out. I think Chrome was our biggest issue, because I know a lot of people were noticing, like, why are there so many weird cuts in your show? I'm like, I know, we're trying.
That's yeah, it's easier to hide those things in the audio than the video, obviously, but it's not. Somebody needs to create the perfect. Why doesn't Apple create a good teleconferencing, recording, podcasting software?
Yeah, dude. Why does Apple we just need Apple? Why doesn't Apple make a printer?
I've said that for years.
It's impossible.
Yeah.
For someone to make the perfect printer. It just a printer must be shit.
That's right.
These are the rules. It's like E equals MC squared. You can't change it. 1 + 1 = 2. Whatever. It's just the way the laws of the universe.
The formula. The formula for printers that I've found personally is the more expensive they are, the worse they are. I've had that. I've always. I'm not talking like giant office printers. I'm talking like you spend $300-400 on a printer. It has more problems than the one you spend $39 for at Walmart.
Yeah.
That's how it goes.
Definitely.
Sorry, I cut off your outro there.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. But we are done with this call-in. This is I think the first episode of Sacred Symbols Plus in 2023. So thank you for joining us, even though we're recording it in about mid-December. But hopefully everyone had a fantastic holiday. There's going to be no more pre-recorded stuff after this. We're going to be back in it to record all the fantastic stuff for you guys. So we thank you for your support. It is much appreciated. Ben, thank you for joining me. Any closing words or thoughts for us before we go?
No, I'm happy we get to talk about some editing stuff, some producing stuff, some game stuff, some personal life stuff. It's good all around. Yeah.
Hell yeah, dude.
Good time.
All right, everybody. Until next time, we'll see you later.
Bye.
Sacred Symbols, a PlayStation podcast, is a product and trademark of Last Stand Media and Collins Last Stand LLC, and is proudly recorded in the USA. The show is conceived by, is written by, and is directed by me, Colin Moriarty. My co-hosts are Chris Raygun Maldonado and Dustin Furman. The show is produced by executive producer Dustin Furman. It's edited by associate producer Ben Smith. All of Last Stand's theme music is by my best friend, Ramon Narvaez. As you know, all of Last Stand's shows, including Sacred Symbols, are fan-funded on Patreon at patreon.com/laststandmedia. The following names are at the producer level on Patreon, our highest tier, and we're grateful for your thoughtful and kind contributions to our independent endeavor. Thank you.